So we looked at the onboarding process, and we kind of went over some of the basics that you need to have a system, a checklist, and process in place for. But let's take a little deeper dive and look at some of the timelines. Because when I do have studios in one of my coaching programs, like Accelerator, or even in a group setting, and we talk about, all right, how many people have onboarding processes in place? Okay, out of you, tell me about the depth of your list. It's usually only a few bullet pieces. It's set the date, pass the contact information, get the data, site visit. It's just half a dozen bullets or less. So we want to take a deeper dive, and we want to truly understand what it is that's going through their minds between the time they sign with you and the time that you show up for picture day, and what you need to have in order to be prepared and be ready for picture day, especially if you don't do it every day. So let's take a look at the timelines with some reminders. So again, we've talked about who do we onboard. Well, obviously we onboard our photographers, employees, contractors, and we've already mentioned that the more you onboard a contractor, the more likely they are actually an employee. We'll look at that in the HR module, but make sure you're on the right side of that conversation. You want to volunteer, you onboard your volunteers, and this is your parent volunteers that help you on picture day. If you have anybody else that assists you and helps you with the process, they need to know what to do. They don't necessarily know your ways, and we had a studio that took some parent volunteers for a sports league. Put them right out front, let them greet the people, thought it was harmless, let them have the clipboards and greet the people. Sales tanked because the two moms that they gave the clipboards to, who were giving them to the people coming in, they were rather cheap. They had limiting beliefs. That's why they signed up to get free pictures. And so, as people would say, well, what should I use? What should I get to get X? I want to get a memory made. What do I do? Well, those parent volunteers would guide them toward the cheapest way to accomplish whatever it was that the parent was looking for. So it definitely can affect you. Now, in a school setting, it's not quite the same because they don't have necessarily control over the buying process if you're doing things in a modern post-COVID world. If you're still doing the old-fashioned pocket flyers like we used to do pre-COVID and in 1984, same flyers, then there it could impact you. But if you're doing things the more modern way, then it won't have as much of an impact. We talked about onboarding the new schools or leagues or learning centers or churches or whoever it might be. And then a new vendor. This is really more getting your list for the vendors and knowing everything you need to know. When we talk about onboarding the school, we want to give them a sense of partnership, of commitment. It will make them feel as though they have committed to you and your program. You are less likely to have them show up midsummer and choose someone else. If one of the big companies comes back around with a checkbook and says, hey, we really don't want you to go, we'll write you this big check. Well, if you've already gone through this process and they see how much more engaged you are and how much better it's going to be for them, then you have a little bit of resistance for that. We also want you to eliminate their unknown. Call it the sound of silence. And I created this photo with a specific feel in mind. Imagine walking through this running water in this dark, foggy, gloomy roadway. You hear noises in the distance, but you don't know what they are. It's muted. It feels heavy, and it feels like something could sneak up on you at any point. And no, this is not going to be one of the meme videos where something just screams and yells in your face. I would never do that to you. But imagine, look deeply at this. Look at the feeling that this would evoke. Well, that is a lot of what the feeling feels like when you sign a school, especially if you sign it in October, November, December after a bad picture day, and you don't talk to them again until next August when you ask for the pictures, for the data for the picture day. There is a sound of silence, and it's a bad sound. It's a bad feeling, and you have to make sure that they don't experience it. Silence breeds fear. No news is good news. That is not the case in business. Think about it. You have a damaged car, you take it to collision center, and you wait. And then they're not responding to you when you call to check on the status of your car, and it goes an extra 2 or 3 days. This silence that you're getting, is that good or bad? You send your son's college transcript off to a college, want to get applied, want to get things moving, and nothing. They don't respond back for days. Is that good news or not so good news? In business, in the things that we do as business people, silence is a bad thing. So we want to increase their accountability. It's another benefit. We talked about giving them that sense of partnership and commitment, but this is their accountability as far as helping with your project, making sure that the cafeteria gets cleared out for picture day, or that the drama club doesn't leave all their props on stage if you're supposed to take photos there the next morning at 7 o'clock. It will help them with their communication. They are supposed to send out notices to the parents through their email, in addition to the emails that you've sent. In the old days, it was simply passing out the flyers, the pocket flyers, sometime before the day before picture day. And there have been times I've walked into schools to help studios, and I've seen a huge stack of 1,000 pocket flyers still sitting on the counter where the studio left them 10 days ago. So this will help increase their accountability if we really onboard them the right way. It will also protect your unknown or your lack of preparation or your lack of knowledge. If you don't know what you don't know, then going through this onboarding process may uncover discussions. They may say, hey, what about X that you didn't even think about? You can say, yeah, I was just going to ask y'all, however you want to cover, but it will help you really get complete on your list of actions, things you need to go over, questions that you need answered before picture day. So just remember, systems will protect you. Systems, checklists, timelines, etc. This is the same slide as from our previous lesson. And we're not going to go through this entire thing, but this was the stakeholder lifecycle template. And this is basically what the schools are processing as they go through, beginning to, just get married with you and either die or divorce on the other side. So it is something that's good to go through and look at their actions, their questions. What do we want them to feel like when that happens? And then your tasks, what tech or processes are involved, and what can we take away? What's our insight in that situation? Or how do we get insight into what happened? Now we're going to look at the new school onboarding outline. And you've seen it, but we're going to adopt it a little bit further. So these are the same basic pieces specifically geared for an elementary school, but we want to turn it into an actual timeline. We do know that they have some very valid questions, and this section, right in under the second column, the second row, is where we're taking this information from, and then we're going to move to the third row, or the third column, sorry. But who's my contact at your office? Who do I work with on picture day? What's the process? What's going to happen, in other words? What do I need to do so that we all succeed? Now, some of them may just feel so that our school succeeds. And how do I ask the customers for help? Understand that this is one of the pieces that I mentioned earlier that so many studios just don't take time to answer. This is in the minds of all of the decision makers, or the people in the office that actually have to make picture day work. At all the schools, everywhere, this set of questions at least flashes through their head the first time or two that they work with you. And after y'all have been together for a while, if they bring on somebody new, then these questions are going to be in their head because they haven't gone through it with you yet. So you've got to make sure, hey, anybody new join the staff over the summer? Well, then here's something that I'm going to prepare just for them, and it will kind of walk them through what we do. Right? You have to be prepared for those kinds of things. They want to know who's involved. Your office contact. This is just, who do I call when there's a problem or I have a question? Parent shows up, they're standing in front of me. Where do I call? I can't put them off. I can't tell them to do something else. I need to call somebody, put you on speaker, or hand them the phone, and I need to do it now. Who do I call? PPD always stands for Perfect Picture Day. So, who is going to be your Perfect Picture Day leader? If it's you, that's great. But if it's, your crew chief, your head photographer, whatever you call them, they need to know who that person is and have their contact information. Maybe there's something that came up at 6 o'clock the night before and things have to change. Hey, just so you know, we had a pipe burst in the gym last night. We're going to have to switch everything over to the cafeteria. So instead of the back door, come through the front door. Right? That's super simple and easy if they know who to call, rather than having you show up, see all the plumbing trucks at the back door, see all the water coming out of the gym, and get stressed out. If everybody knows, no big deal, we switch, we take care of it. Then you need to know, who do you call at the school for normal questions, okay? And then who is your Perfect Picture Day school liaison? Who's going to let you in? What's their cell phone number? And then who's going to help you run things? Those are probably two different people. There's probably a custodian, perhaps it's a bus driver that's going to come open up the school, and then they go get in their bus and they go drive their route. It just depends on the size of the school. We've had both of those scenarios. So you want to make sure that you have those two people. Who am I working with that day, and who's going to let us in? And in case they're in the back of the building and not responding, how do I call them? FYI, on picture day, this is not okay. I'll get on a bigger soapbox in the HR module, but be professional. I get the fact that we are in a more casual generation. I get that. I do understand that. And you don't have to be in a suit and tie. The one time I wore a full-length button-down dress shirt, it was a new charter school. They had taken over an office building, and then everything was great when we did our site inspection. When we came in for picture day, the air conditioner had gone out the night before, and we hadn't gotten the word. So as we rolled away the library bookshelves to set everything up, way before we ever started. I was rough, and I had extra shirt on. I thought I was in good shape, but with no air conditioner in Texas in September, or actually it was the end of August. It was like August 20th. It was well over 100 degrees outside. I just, so you have to dress appropriately, but don't be overly casual. Some of the teachers may be in t-shirts. I see teachers in t-shirts and jeans, and all of my first and second grade teachers just spit in their grave when I see that. But you are the professional. Polo shirts with logos, those are great for schools. Those are wonderful. But the same thing that we would wear out to the fields on Saturday for a soccer shoot, not the same shirts that we would wear into a school to photograph school kids, especially if it's a more formal school like a charter school or something where they have uniforms. There is an expectation that you are professional, that you're clean shaven. You can have a beard, obviously, but it stops here. And yes, get a haircut. You don't have to get this haircut, but be neat, be clean for your personality, be professional, and don't gross them out. Because again, you are being, in air quotes, alone with students on a massive scale. And a lot of people don't trust you no matter what you look like. But the scruffier you are, the more that's going to instill distrust and fear in their minds. So if you want to have a long-term relationship with the school, make sure that your team is presentable and professional. The other questions that we had, this is closer, this is as we get 30 to 14 days out, 2 to 4 weeks. Do we know everything we need to know? What challenges are we going to face? What will parents experience on picture day? What are the kids going to experience? What will the staff experience? So all of those questions, it's actually multi-parts there. The kid's going to be able to do this. They come in and out. Are there proper instructions? Do you have signage? Do you have footprints? What do you have? And then what do we get out of picture day? What do we, meaning the school, get out of picture day? So that doesn't necessarily mean the rebate. That just means, is this going to be a pain in the butt for us, or is it going to go smoothly and it's going to be a great experience? So let's look at the new school onboarding timeline. I realize that there are these 4 columns and it's small on the screen. You do have these in the PDF that accompanies this lesson. So go pull out your PDF. You can zoom up as big as you want. But to help out a little bit here in the presentation, I'm going to move to the next slide and we're going to take them 2 columns at a time. I can make it a little bit bigger for you. We're going to start, again, thinking of the entire piece. We're going to start at 60 days out and then we're going to run to just after picture day. I say 60 days, but if you book this in December, it's more than 60 days. But at the very least, if we're August 1st, you need to start this by June 1st, 60 days out. July 1st is 30, June 1st is 60, ballpark, okay? At the beginning of the summer, at the very least, but you've already swapped the contact information. You do that, if you remember from onboarding, you do that immediately when you book it. But you want to just make sure that 60 days out that you get all the contact information, the initial list of people, places, etc. Their questions are the ones that we went through on the other slide. They should be excited about the new opportunity, probably a little nervous about, can you really hang? Can you handle this situation? Because we've had both, and if we're switching, they may have had a problem. So they might be a little nervous. Just know that that's probably part of their emotional state. You want to make sure you complete all the information to give to them in writing and make it easy. Have maybe a pared down list that's printed out as a nice, neat infographic, maybe with your pictures so they see a face that goes with the name, and laminate it. You should have one of those little $25 laminators from Walmart or Amazon. They're super cheap and they can really come in handy with things like this. But they should have that, maybe a couple of copies of that in the office at the desk. You want to remind them that you're going to be contacting them around 2 to 3 weeks out for the data. Now, it will depend on when you photograph. If you don't photograph until October, you're going to ask for this data probably 3 to 4 weeks out. If you're going to photograph the second week of school, then you need this as soon as school starts and the registration kind of settles in. It will really depend on when you photograph. Bottom line is you got to get it. And you can get it. Don't give me sob stories. Oh, they won't give it. We get it 100% of the time. You can use a platform like GotPhoto without it, but your sales will suffer. They will. So if you're going to do this and you're going to do it right, just lose that limiting belief that they may say no. And this is the data that you've got to have in order to do your job. The processes, policies, and tech, that's going to be the database like we use for Airtable or wherever. You're going to make sure that it's all there and have it ready to go with the next steps in place. This is not talking about the school's database. This is talking about you tracking your timeline and your ops line. You're going to communicate and you're going to copy emails to your team. So anything that goes back and forth to the school, make sure that everybody sees it that needs to see it. If you have an intranet like Slack or Asana or some other inside communication, set up a separate room for that school and invite them in and use that tool that your team's already used to using and let them, even if you pay a user fee for them, if the school can just Slack you and get an answer within a few seconds and everybody's good and happy and done, again, it's one more piece that keeps you connected. It's one more spider thread on the web that keeps the two of you connected. Then your insights, what was the most important thing from their previous things, right? Their previous events, their previous photographers. We've asked that already. And then we want to make sure we understand why did they say yes to us? And then what is no, really? What do they not want? In this particular case, it's not that they didn't say yes to us. It's that what is not a go in their mind. So that's our longer list. You can fill it out in much greater detail than that if you want to, but that list will kind of get you rolling until you get about 30 days out. Everybody with me? The 30 to 14 days out, that's again 2 to 4 weeks. We want them to make sure they're sharing with the parents. Now, if you've joined their Facebook group, you can do this. Hey, we're excited. We're getting ready to see all of the Tigers at Tibbles on the 14th. And, and if you want to check out how to get ready for school pictures, click here and then have a PDF, a downloadable PDF that the parents can retrieve. Maybe it gives them hints and tips on what to wear, what not to wear. These are the school policies for Tibbles, and so children will not be allowed to photograph in their hoodies, whatever it is, because it varies from one school to the other. It's never quite the same. But you could have that as a PDF, and that you want to get that out a couple of weeks before picture day. You want parents to have time to go to Kohl's or go to whatever the store is and buy the clothes and do their thing. Maybe it's Macy's, maybe it's Neiman, whatever. But they need to have time to get out ahead of the process. Not, hey, pictures are Thursday when it's Tuesday. That happens all too often. And it's a real pain in the butt for parents to get very short notice on things. if you set up an event orientation, you could do it through Zoom, would be fine. Invite, the school, whoever, the staff members from that particular school. I have seen studios do this for all of their schools, or at least do a couple of times. Hey, we're going to have these orientation sessions. There are 3 of them. Pick the one that works best for you. And then all of the schools they serve can come and pick one. That can work okay. If you do it as a webinar, they can't see each other. If you do it as a meeting, they can see each other, they can chat to each other, they can talk to each other. And sometimes that's good, sometimes there's a rivalry. So I would not put the 2 big rival high schools in a room together. But, if it's all elementary schools and that kind of thing, you could do a group event. You just have to understand that if you do it as a group, that you run the risk of someone asking a question you may not want to answer for everybody because they may not have thought about it. So if there's any gaps out there, you want to make sure that you either fill them in and close them up, or that you have an answer ready. You can help line up the parent volunteers. Again, 2 to 4 weeks out, get me some parent volunteers. We don't want the parents that change out every class. I have seen where it wasn't properly communicated from a studio, and so these are first grade parents, and then when first grade was done, second grade parents came in, and then third grade parents, and fourth, etc. That gives you a whole lot of additional people to have to train, and it gives you 5 times the amount of picture packages that you have to give away for free. So if you need to split it up and have a couple of sessions, let one group come in and do it for a couple of hours, and then have another group come in and do it another couple of hours. 1 volunteer per station, maybe a customer service person. It depends on your structure, but that's about it. So don't just bring in lots and lots of parent volunteers unless you're willing and wanting to give away lots of pictures. Okay? You only need 1 per station for every couple of hours. We've already gone through the contact information, what the process is, that kind of thing. We want them to feel ready for picture day. We want them to feel excited and prepared. They know all of the information, and we're excited to have Ace Photography because nobody else has shared the information that these guys have. We're going to remind them of the plan, really kind of overshare the plan. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what we're going to do. Get that data. You need the data. So just be firm in it. Add a school liaison to the data list. Add 2 or 3 if you want. Sometimes the administrators have a child on the team. They have a kid that goes to school there, and that's great. If they do, then that makes it easier for you. But if they don't have a student that goes to school there, then find a kid that the school agrees or the parent agrees that it's okay to include the gatekeeper in the office or the principal on the communication. All that it's going to do is allow them to see their photos. So there's nothing else behind a closed door that it's going to do. But we want to make sure that the communication is open and transparent. Then when we send out our parent next steps communications at 2 weeks, we're going to send another one at a week out. They get it. They know what we're saying to them, and they feel comfortable, confident. Okay, that's pretty cool. As far as the processes, the policies, the tech, this is pretty easy, simple. We talked about the database, and in this case, the database would be the data itself. We're going to use our e-commerce platform. If that's ScottPhoto or whoever else that you may use, we're going to take that data and we're going to ingest it into the system. And there's another video here about how to do that. Happens to be a ScottPhoto setup because that's what we use. you can check that out, and it's a good lesson. The basics will be the same regardless of which platform that you use. We would like to have videos that tell them what to do in a good way, in a positive way. Tell them how to do things. So on your website, if you're comfortable with this, most of them are just drag and drop type web creation templates. You can add a video to a landing page. So create another page. Let's say it's Tibbles Elementary. Your website is acephotography.com/Tibbles. So here's the URL, and on there is, again, a way to pull down that downloadable PDF that tells people how to get ready for picture day. And on your page, you have a section there of what to do for picture day. Then you could have a video from the owner of the company. You know, hey, my name's Tommy. I'm the owner of Ace Photography, and we are so excited to have you in the Ace family this year. On this page, there's going to be some basic information about how we work things. It'll be a little different than you saw last year, but it's going to be a whole lot easier for you, and we're going to have a lot more fun. If you have any questions, our support information is on this page too. So check it out. If you have questions, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to see you all dressed, prepped, and ready, and on whatever the date is. All right. You could put just that long of a video welcoming them on this landing page and just make sure that it all goes out. But you want to get that out 2 to 4 weeks before picture day so that parents feel good with it, especially the analytical parents. They need that information earlier. They're not spontaneous by nature. You want PDFs for instruction of how to do stuff. You want PDFs for sharing the dress code or any school policies. I think I shared in an earlier lesson how we had a school policy one time that girls had to be in the drapes and boys had to be in tuxes. And they didn't think anything about it at that point, but there was a lawsuit. It wasn't one of our studios, it was just here in North Texas. And there was a lawsuit over that one of the girls wanted to be in a tux. And so they reprinted thousands of yearbooks after the lawsuit was over, and she won, and they came back and retook the photos and redid everything. So you need to find out and put it on the school. Whatever the school's policies are, that's what you are going to adhere to and enforce. For elementary schools, it's pretty simple and easy. The biggest thing that comes up there is hoodies. Some schools don't allow hoodies to be in the photographs, and others know that those children will live in hoodies until they're seniors. So, you know, it's just, that's up to you. But whatever it is, make sure it's on the parent share list, that if there's anything relating to the appearance that they might need to know for pictures, because that way it can come up in conversation 2 weeks out and not the day after pictures are done. But regardless of what you do, make sure there's clear communication. And then just follow up. Is everything going by your checklists? Are there any gaps that are forming? Is somebody not responding? And if they're not, what are you going to do to make sure that you turn it around and get compliance as you get into the real important parts of picture day? And then are they communicating with the parents? The next two columns are picture day and after picture day. So on picture day, we're going to spend a whole lot more time. There's a whole module on the perfect picture day itself. So we're not going to go through a great deal of detail here, but the bottom line is they've got to let you in. You'd be surprised. That's more of a challenge than you think sometimes. There are many times where when I go to assist and we talk about this, yes, we have somebody meeting us there. We get all the gear to the door, and then they still have not been able to connect with whoever's supposed to let them in the door. There's this big pile of stuff or rolling carts or whatever it is outside the door, but their liaison is not there to let them in. They're in the building, but they're not at the door. We want them to help assist in the traffic flow and the class schedule. We'll talk on Perfect Picture Day about the Rancher, the Hunter walkie-talkies. Cell phones can make that a lot easier now, but when you're out hunting or on a ranch, the phones may not work very well. And so there are rancher walkie-talkies or hunter walkie-talkies, same thing, but you can get them in 2-packs or 4-packs or 10-packs at Amazon, Walmart, any of the places like Bass Pro, Cabela's, etc. And these are walkie-talkies that work 20 miles away. They say 30 or 40, but the best I've found them to do is about 20 miles away. But they definitely work within the building. They're very similar to the little black walkie-talkies that you see a lot of businesses use that always make a lot of noise while they're walking back and forth. But if you walk in, you can get them in all kinds of colors. So if our colors are blue, which mine are blue and orange, and if we walk in the door and have blue walkie-talkies, one for us and one for the office, then we can talk back and forth, and they're fully charged, they're ready to go. It reinforces my brand, and they have already known that we're going to do this because it's been on the list. This is what's going to happen. We're going to give you this, and then we're going to go through the schedule. So you want them to assist you in the traffic flow and the class schedule, because they have the intercom that can, if you get ahead, you want to go ahead and call for the next group. We want to communicate to get as many people to Pictures on Picture Day. This is the teachers, anybody else in the building, calling a last call, but also a almost last call. If they're in the building, we want to make sure we get their photograph, because the more people we push off to makeup day, the more likely we are to have them be out on makeup day or have something else or have a test or something that they can't come do it. And then we get the request for the individual makeup. Everybody's had them. We know they're going to come. But if you do this and you get the school to really push for everybody being there, then it'll mitigate that. Their questions, again, do we know everything for sure? Yeah, we feel pretty good because we've got all this information. During the day, are the students making it through okay? And it's very common to see the principal or someone just suddenly be standing near you, checking up on you. What will parents experience? We don't have a lot of parents in the building. Occasionally you'll have someone come in with a younger sibling and they'll want to do a buddy shot with their kid. It's up to you how you handle that. The larger public schools, this is much less of an situation. If it's a small private school, it's very possible you may have half a dozen younger siblings show up because they pay money to be there. The parents pay tuition for the kids to be there, and they feel more entitled to be able to do things that they want to do. And the school, in many cases, fosters this. So just play it by ear. This would have been a question, do you have a history of siblings ever coming up and that kind of thing? Have parents typically been at Picture Day in the past? That's an easy way to say it. And if that was just in your initial questions, then you know. Are they running on time? That's a big one. So you will have them check up on you, and you need to be on time or early. If you feel you're drifting behind, you need to figure out some way to speed it up. Don't throw big, heavy, funky poses that are going to take a long time. Yes, funky is a technical term. But if this is your first time photographing this school, don't do the side thing and have the arm folds and then go the other way and have to do the other arm folds, but it doesn't go that way. And don't do things that take longer to pose the first time at the school until you know how the kids respond, how the school responds, and all of the other challenges there. Make it nice, quick, super simple, easy, fast posing so that you can stay on time. If you've been taking 2 poses and 2 shots of each pose, you're taking 4 images, you can do that pretty quickly. But if you suddenly realize that you're 30 kids late and the next class comes in, then you're going to have to tell your photographers, make sure you got it, 1 shot each pose. Okay, that cuts it from 4 to 2, and it can get you back on track. They are super motivated to make it a success. That's what we want them to feel. We want them to be looking for opportunities to help us make it a success. And we want them to feel confident on picture day. We got this. We know no matter what comes up, we're good shape. Follow your systems and your checklists to make sure that you have a perfect picture day. Go to that module, look through all the pieces, and talk about it in the Facebook group for the course. Put out your ideas, your thoughts, get some feedback, make sure that you knock it out of the park. Excuse me, I had to take a drink. Don't be tied down. Don't have your face stuffed up behind a camera and not know what else is going on in the room. Now, you can be one of the photographers, that's okay, but you have to be observant and you have to be able to step off the camera for a second. Hey, wait, Lily, do me a favor, have a seat right there. I'm going to go tell this gentleman one thing. I'll be right back. And that's a conversation that you can have to the person that's there with you at that moment. I come from retail environments and other sales environments where you're always looking around to make sure that there's no mess, there's no problems, there's nothing that's going to hurt a customer or a staff member or get a lawsuit. So picking things off the floor, moving things over so they don't get knocked off, whatever it might be. And in this situation, it's kind of the same head on a swivel environment. You can be in the camera, you can be taking photos, but in addition to yours, you just need to look around and you need to be able to process what you just saw. I saw that Mrs. Williams' class is headed out. They've got one more kid, and when he finishes on that station, then they're going to be headed out. There's another class that's coming down the hallway. I see them, or I hear them coming down the hallway. This class over here is just wrapping up. I'm about to wrap up, so these two will be leaving. Must be my next 3 that are on their way. Everything's good. But if you see a problem, you need to be able to step in and mitigate that and have that conversation with your student. Or if you get down to the end of your line, just tell somebody. I mean, you could even make a little stanchion, a little PVC T shape that you never see the PVC, it's hidden, little banner from Science 365 that I wouldn't say this station closed, that's a negative, but something that would direct them to the other lines, and then you could set that up and step over. If the kids are already in your line, you understand that the clock is ticking and you don't want to annoy them. You don't want to give them reasons to damage their QRs or each other or their clothing, or you don't want to give them a bad experience. You want it to be a good experience for them. So be careful how you step away. Don't just say, I'll be back, and run. That's not fun for anybody. Wouldn't be fun for an adult, and it's not fun for a 5th grader. But you can come up with some very creative signage that gives you a pause to step over and handle something. You want to mitigate any issues quickly but kindly. Same conversation that we were just having. Over communicate everything. I know sometimes you're like, I know. But the opposite of that is, I have no idea what to do. And people tend to forget things. If you don't believe me, just sit down with an analytical and ask them to put on something besides Netflix on the remote. Netflix many times has a button by itself that says Netflix, but any of the other applications require a few clicks. You got to go to home, and then you've got to go down to the apps, and then you got to go do this, and I don't know. Well, you've owned that TV for 3 years. You use it every day, right? So there are many situations with certain personality types. It's nothing, it's no offense to them. The reality is, even though you sent it 5 times, they don't connect that, oh yeah, that's where that is. So over communicate it, tell them what you're communicating, and you will help eliminate a whole lot of frustration and issues before it ever happens. And then when you're done, we're going to pack up and get it out of the way. We'll talk about that on picture day. The walkies that we talked about, and then monitor the intranet. If you use Slack, for example, make sure the minute you drive away from the school that somebody is watching Slack every second. That you get notifications, that you go check and make sure that nothing got hidden and missed in a thread somewhere. Because if there's a problem, hey, you left your cash box in the library. I saw a studio get that call one day. Back in the old-fashioned days, they had taken cash for people on a prepay day and set it on the library shelf and left it there. But other things of questions that came up or issues, sometimes it is gear that you forgot, but they may have concerns or issues that come up within a few minutes. So watch it the rest of the day and make sure that you're right there to respond. So let's look at the after picture day. This is typically done within 3 days. So for example, if you photograph on a Thursday, get a time set on Monday that you can get back together. Give it a few days to simmer, and for teachers to come back and discuss with their staff, with their bosses, maybe even Tuesday, but don't go really any longer than that. Then you can set it up by Zoom. It's really best if you can do it in person, but you want to make sure that you handle the debrief with honesty on both parts and tell them, be brutally honest, let us know. We know we were awesome, but tell us anyway. Tell us brutally honest answers, and just ask them what their experience was. You can guide it with certain questions, but you want them to tell you if there was a problem. You need to know about it. This will help you with a successful makeup day. And it will, if they communicate the real world experience, then it will help you be better and again, develop that relationship for long term. Did it work? What went wrong? What went right? What do we need to do now? And what are we going to tell the parents? Those are all questions that they're going to be feeling, but you want them to answer most of those with you. We want to make sure that they communicate what the next steps to the parents are. Now you should, through your communication profile, you should have a communication profile set up in your e-commerce platform, and right after picture day, you're going to send a notice that says, we had an awesome day with all the Tigers at Tipples this morning. It went super well. Everybody had a lot of fun. I know you're going to hear the same thing from your kids when they get home today. Just so you know, here's what's going to happen next, and then give them the next steps, whatever they are for you. It's a traditional, and you photographed it on a background that you're going to use, and you did a separate class photo standing there, then maybe pictures will be up in 2 days or whatever it is. But whatever your process is, you're going to give them a timeline. You're going to tell them super easy steps. We're going to send you an email, and if you're getting this one, you're going to get that one that tells you the gallery is open. And at that point, you go check it out, fall in love with all the pictures, and it will give you instructions on how to get exactly what you want. If you have a special like digital downloads, I would put it there, just mention it. We will have both print packages like you've always seen with school photos, but we found that the last couple of years, really our most popular package is the digital download, get them all. So all of the poses that we took of all of the great Tigers, they'll be available for you to download all of those in one package. You don't even have to put the price, just say that. Kind of plants that seed. And that's it. So just let them know this is what's going to happen next, and then they'll feel better about it. Whatever the wins are, find some wins and celebrate it. You want to find school people that did great, and you want to find your people that did great. And you want to make sure that everybody celebrates both. So, hey, Miss Anderson, Miss Williams did a super job. Her kids walked down and they were all in line. Their hands were by their sides. They did this or they did that. Now we like to find someone that's not a teacher, because there's a whole bunch of teachers and I don't want to annoy the other ones. So if I can find somebody in the office that did really well, or maybe the janitor, or maybe some custodian, or the person in the ladies in the cafeteria, whatever it is, I try to find someone and praise them that they did super awesome at helping us on picture day. Maybe you give them a, $10, $20 Starbucks gift card. We want to make sure that you give ongoing feedback to them and you continue to get feedback from them, debriefing on any issues, any positives, and the positives that you get, you want to make sure that you get that testimonial. I'm going to guide the school through those next steps as well. Here's what we're going to do. Here's the customer service process if somebody or when somebody has a challenge. And then we're going to make sure that we use our e-commerce platform to have a good communication profile in place. You want to have an email that follows up, and you want to give the school a copy, but here are the next steps. And if you do it printed, laminated, emailed, on a web page, all of those together give you the most coverage for the parents and for people at the school when a parent is standing there in front of them and asks them the question. And then a how-to webinar. How many of you, as school photographers, have ever done a webinar for parents after picture day? Now, it's a webinar, it's not a meeting, so they can't get in there and gripe and bitch and moan in front of others. Webinars, typically, maybe you open up the chat where everybody can see everybody else's chat. Sometimes they can only chat with you. Depends on the platform. But you can find some very inexpensive webinar platforms. We use Zoom for all of our things, but you can find others that are inexpensive. And if you have one or two webinars for parents on the, a how-to after picture day, or a next step webinar, and you get the school to promote it, you can have pretty good attendance, you get great questions, and it's something that no other photography company has done. You can also find out good information from school staff surveys. If you run those by, I would send printed copies of those and then pick them back up in a couple of days. Parent surveys would be more by email. And then, of course, your sales insights. Did everybody buy digital downloads this season, or did they go back to prints? And we've seen that this year. So as we go through 2024, we're seeing kind of a resurgence back to prints. They're simple prints, 8x10s, 5x7s, etc. But we're seeing a lot of the parents go back to those. So this quick little map starts in the lower right. And this, again, is just giving you the basics. We're going to start at the booking. You got the handshake, and we're going to seal that relationship and let them know that they're part of the family. So we go 60 days out-ish. We're going to set everybody up for success. Over-communicate the plan, the process, the people, and the outcome for your perfect picture day process. No, Sylvester the cat can't say that. We're going to look at between 60 and 14 days. So through the summer, basically, we're going to continue to remind them of what you'll need, that you're going to be contacting them for the data. Now, if they say, no big deal, I'll have it for you on the 3rd, then I wouldn't hit them every time with that. But certainly by like the 25th of July, I would say, hey, just a touch reminder, we're going to get with you on the 3rd and get that data. But you need to conduct a site visit. Make sure that nothing has changed, that they didn't paint their school colors on the gym walls, and so now you're going to have bright yellow and green reflecting on the faces of your kids. Whatever it is, you need to be there, and you need to make sure outlets work and that there's no weird factors that will impact you. And then 2 weeks out, down to picture day, we're going to get that data. We're going to print the QRs or prepare the PDFs on your tablets, send the parent communications. We typically have 1 to 3 of them to help them be prepared for picture day. And that's in the email swipe files that we'll be providing through the course. And you can make sure that they're in a good place. The data sheet that we use to track all of this and make sure that we've done all of our things is Airtable. You've seen this QR before. Again, there's a free plan. You don't have to spend any money on it. You can get the free version of it. But if you just scan this and go check it out, you can see how flexible it really truly is. And then, I love systems, but whatever you use, you got to do it. You got to have it somewhere besides your head, because you will miss something, especially as you grow and add more schools. Schools don't do things spontaneously. They plan for things, sometimes a couple of years out. Not only is that just the nature of the school structure, but there's a lot of analyticals that work in those offices. And so they want to know with surety that this is going to happen. There's no problems. I have everything I need to know or do or have to make it a success. And having it written down in some kind of form will help you do that. Make changes. Reiterate it often. If something is different and you need to make a change, that's fine. Go do it. But make sure you update your database. Kind of the last thing here is that as you go through this and you're working through the timeline, you're going to have people give you praise, especially if you do all of these things that we talk about. So maybe it's the principal. Hey, Ace, photography made the day absolutely amazing. It's the smoothest picture day we've ever had. My team loved it. Well, can I quote you on that? And give them a place. If you're a Facebook user, give them a place where they can share that, and then you can capture that. You can screenshot it. You can use that as social proof. Maybe the kids tell you, it was killer. Our picture day was killer. Photographer made it fun. Not too corny. Made us all feel special. They made it tolerable. Whatever it is. Maybe there's a 7th grade boy that looks up and says, not too bad. Right? Whatever it is, you don't have to give out any specific information. You could just put K instead of Kelsey. So we're not identifying the kid specifically, but you can use little cutouts to show who they are. You don't have to, call the kid out or put out information that we shouldn't be putting out on children. But collect those testimonials every way that you can. If the teachers, maybe you have a form. I saw this a few years ago, back when we were doing more things by paper. They actually asked the high school, what'd you think about picture day? It was when we first started doing the extractions. And back then it was green screen, but it was extractions. So each class had a page, and the kids, if they wanted to come put something constructive, they could do that. And there were a lot of really good insights. And so, it helped that particular studio do better. So that'll do it for this lesson. But the onboarding and the timelines of the onboarding are important. If you will do this, if you don't take anything else out of the school photography course, for the schools you already have, if you will start doing this part of the process and become their hero through the summer, they will be so impressed or for you on picture day that they will tell everybody they know. And if you get those testimonials, then you can help spread the word too. It can make a significant impact on your business. Okay, it's assignment time. For our onboarding lesson, I'd like to ask you to write out a preliminary onboarding list for an elementary school that you've booked in February. You're going to photograph them in September. You pick the date, and then post this list. And it can be from, Excel, it can be in Airtable, it can be in Word, it can be wherever. We just want to work together on the list and the process of coming up with a list. So take a look at those templates. You take a look at your particular setup in your studio and write out a preliminary onboarding list for an elementary school. Give it a name and give names to all of the contacts, the decision maker, the person that we're actually going to work with there, the person on your staff that they're going to work with between now and then on picture day. Pick a date in September and then post it in the course Facebook group. We want to take a look. We want to work together. We want to collaborate. We want to give thumbs up and pats on the back for a job well done. And if you have any questions or you get stuck, then we can help together there as a group, as a community. So take this time, do this assignment, and we will see you in the group.